Okay then, let's have a look at the big blue book, the requirement for electrical installations. Remember I said issued on the 2nd of July 2018. This is BS 7671 2018. Now BS 7671 is a non-statutory document, but it may well be used in a court of law in evidence to claim compliance with statutory requirements, or indeed non-compliance. And all the relevant statutory provisions are listed in the back of the book in one of the appendices, Appendix 2. Now, as mentioned, it's a non-statutory document, but BS 7671 is referred to by the Electrical Safety Quality Continuity Regulations and the EAWR, and the Health and Safety Executive considers that compliance with BS 7671 will achieve conformity. In fact, they've even put that in the front of the book as an endorsement. So the book itself is broke down into 7 main sections. Part 1, scope, object, fundamental principles. 2, definitions. We're going to cover each section separately in further slideshows, so we'll look at those later. But also at the back of the book there are 17 appendices, starting with things like a list of British standards in 1, current carrying capacities and voltage drop of cables in Appendix 4, external influences, quite an important one, Appendix 5. 11 and 12 have actually been absorbed in the main body of the book, but the numbering remains for consistency. And we have a new appendix, Appendix 17, which refers to energy efficiency, which we will be looking at. Now, along with the book, there's 8 guidance notes, which give a much greater level of detail. Guidance note 3, for instance, inspection and testing, sets out all the requirements when inspecting and testing a system. And we have this fantastic little useful guide, the on-site guide, which every electrician should really be carrying a copy of in their tool bag. It's spiral bound, it's easy to read, and it refers to real life situations, shows you the regulations required, and points out how you need to comply. Now, when we start talking about the exam, there are no need to try and memorize the entire book. All you need to do is be able to understand the numbering system in the book, how it works, so that you can locate a suitable regulation. And obviously you need to find the answers to 60 questions in your 2 hours. The qualification itself really is a measure of how your ability to use the book. It's an open book assessment, which means you can take the book into the exam. You can't, however, have things in the book such as practice questions, answers of your own diagrams or notes. Anything like that needs to be removed before you go into the exam. You can include in the book post-it notes numbering the sections, the chapters, or if you want to turn over a page corner, that's acceptable. Highlighting of text is acceptable, but remember, if you're using one of our college books, please don't do that because other people will be using them. So your exam then, 60 questions in 2 hours, and it's broken down as follows. The scope will be 4 questions, definition 2, part 3 will be 6 questions. The bulk of the exam questions will be in 4 and 5, 15 and 14 questions respectively. Part 6 will get 4 questions, part 7 10, and there'll be 5 questions on appendices. Now, these questions won't be in this order, I'm afraid. They will be random throughout the exam. So look at the question and you'll learn as we go through the course how to decide which section it's from. Looking at our book then, the Big Blue Book, 18th edition, issued on the 2nd of July 2018. Right then, the structure of our book. Well, the book has 7 parts, as I mentioned, and 17 appendices. We're going to look at the parts for now. Now, each of the parts, except part 7, is exactly the same layout. It contains chapters, and each chapter contains a section, and then each section contains the relevant regulations. So let's have a look at a typical regulation. So here we've got displayed 524.1. So that's part 5 of the book, and it will actually mean chapter 52, section 524. The regulation number being regulation number 1. All the regulations in numeric order. Now we do have a couple of little exceptions to the rule here, where a .100 is a Senelec regulation, and here in the UK we have one or two specific rules for our own wiring systems only, and they will always be listed under a .200 number. So if it starts 100 it's Senelec, if it starts 200 it's specific to the UK. So a challenge for you then. Can you find regulation of 521.9.3 and tell me what it relates to? Well, it's quite simple. We grab the book, section 5, chapter 52. If you've got your book with you now, you should be thumbing through section 521, 521.9, 521 regulation 3, stationary equipment. Have we all found that? Quite easy really, isn't it? Right, now let's just have a quick recap on those UK and Senelec numbers. Remember, UK only regulations are identified with a .200 number and Senelec .100. So what I want you to do is flick through your book and check out regulation 52110.201. So that's of course section 5, chapter 21. So as you're flicking through your books, 521.10.201 on page 137, a bare live conductor shall be installed on insulators. All found that? Easy, isn't it? Right. Section 7, slightly different, because section 7 refers to the special locations, special installation locations, and the numbers of the special locations refer to corresponding chapters in sections. So if we've got a regulation within parts 1 and 6 that actually forms part of one of these special locations, you will see the number referenced as well. We don't create a completely separate reg and a completely separate number. So that can mean that sometimes the numbering system doesn't always follow sequence. Take for instance this one, look. 701.415.2. Now we already know that if we have a look at part 4, chapter 41, 415.2, that is a reg. But we're looking here at where it applies to 701. 701 of course being a location containing a bath shower. So have a go yourself. Let's have a look at 701.753. What regulation does that relate to? Section 701.753. Electric floor heating systems in a location contained in a bath or a shower. So we've got a special location in a special location. When you get your questions in the exam, it will identify the special location, and there's a list of special locations on the first page of section 7. All you need to do is go to that first page of part 7. It'll point you in the direction of the special location, and we'll cover that a lot more in greater depth as we go to it. Now that we know how the regulations are broken down by number, but how do we find where the regulations are? Well, at the back of the book there's an index. It starts on page 518 with a table of all the figures in the book. There's even, flicking through it, from 522, a table of all the tables. So if you need a specific table to refer to, it will tell you which page it's on. But from page 525 onwards, there's an alphabetical index of all the regulations in the book as to what they apply to. So for instance, just looking down now, if I were to look at lamp holders in caravans, would give me regulation 721.55.2.4. Have a look through the index and see if you can find one or two regulations. Well, that brings us to the end of this presentation. I'll be back shortly with further presentations and actually start looking at each of the sections individually in the book. In the meantime, thank you for listening.